my name is Mara.
And I'm Patricia.
And this is the first episode of the Chem Girls.
We're going to teach you about equilibrium.
In an easier way.
First, to understand equilibrium, you must learn its definition.
To make this easier to understand, exothermic is where the energy just disappears, but endothermic is where it builds up into the product. So exothermic is where you start at the top, the reactants. It's always reactants on the left, products on the right, and it has this little hump which is called the activation energy, and it comes all the way down to the bottom where the products are. And right here is called the activation complex. You can see what the activation energy is by measuring this, the reactants to the top of the activation complex, and you write it like this. Yeah. Right, whatever that is. And then you can figure out what the heat is, which is the height of the reactants to the products, which is right here. So delta H. So that's what an exothermic graph looks like. Over here on the endothermic graph is where the reactants lose energy by going up the scale. So once the reactants or and the products are at the same point, where at the lowest point they could possibly be, and they're equal to each other, is where equilibrium exists. So right over here in exothermic is where the equilibrium happens, when it gets closer and closer together. And over here in endothermic is when, on top is where equilibrium happens, because they become equal to each other.
Now we're going to do the equation.
So basically the equation is products divided by the reactants. So let's write that down. So we'll use this equation for the example. So water. But first, before we do anything, we have to balance the equation. So the way to do that is we have to put a 2 in front of the H2O and 2 in front of the H2. So that way this equation is balanced. So when you put this in the products equation, these plus signs pretty much go away. So on top, we write the products, so H2O. Since we have a 2 in the front, it becomes a exponent. So we put these little brackets around it, and we put a 2 on top. Now to do the bottom part, we do oxygen 2, and we put the bracket around it. We get rid of the plus sign, and we just put H2. But since, like before on top, there's the 2 next to it, we put the 2 on top like an exponent. So now to actually solve for K, or the constant, like in Germany they spell it with a K, the products on top would be 10 squared over oxygen, which is 2, times, because it has to be times, you get rid of the plus sign, hydrogen, which is 3 squared. So now to put this all together, it's 100 divided by 18, because 3 squared is 9, 9 times 2 is 18. So now we're going to divide these, so K, over here, K equals
5.5.
And now that you learned how to use this equation, click on the link at the bottom of the page so you can apply your knowledge we just taught you. Thanks for watching!
Fun activity!